The hour of 10:15 having arrived, we will call the House Tax Committee to order. When we have a quorum, we will get going with the bills at hand. And of course, we will not be moving any of these bills out of committee today. They'll be laid over for possible inclusion in a spectacular omnibus tax bill. Welcome, committee, sir. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please. And we will start with House File. I will be moving when we have a quorum. House File 123.
123. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Representative Jim Nash. I represent District 47A. Thanks for having me in this morning. Members, for those that were on the committee, we've seen this bill before. It is a bill that is going to reduce the tax on premium cigars. And Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, I'd kind of like to set the parameters of today. Today, I am only talking about premium cigars. I don't want to talk about cigarettes or chewing tobacco or snus or flavored cigars, small cigars. I just want to talk about premium cigars. So with your indulgence, as testifiers come up and may want to say things that aren't related to premium cigars, if we could just keep it germane.
Fair enough.
So in the state of Minnesota, a premium cigar is taxed approximately $3.50 a stick. And the goal of this bill is to reduce the tax on the premium cigars so that local shop owners, and you'll be hearing from some of them on my testifier list, can actually be in parity with some of our neighboring states and can be in a competitive situation where they can actually gain customers against online retailers. So many online retailers are able to undercut the cost of the local retailers. And the local retailers are really invested in their community. They're part of their community. They give back to charities, and they're involved with the local communities. And that's really the goal, is to remove a burdensome and crushing tax on a permitted activity. And I know many of us here in the legislature do like an occasional cigar, and it's really difficult to go to a local purveyor because the tax is just crushing. So I do have some testifiers. Would love to invite them up. I'm going to try to be brief, as the chair recommended. So I was going to keep the chair happy. So I do have a list of testifiers, and they can make their way down here.
And a happy chair is a happy chair. I'll officially call the meeting to order of the House Tax Committee. I will move House File 123 so we have it before us. And for the folks that are in the audience, I'm going to read who I have on my list, and then I will ask if there are others which testify for the bill with concerns, and then we will, of course, offer the department the opportunity to testify on the bill. I have a Derek Smeagol, I have a Mark Wolk, a Janelle Walduck, Russell Lipker, Megan McFarland, Chika Samba, and if I mess the names up, I apologize. We'll get it on the record correctly. So we have members. We have House File 123 before us. I do not see any amendments to this. But before we start, Representative Schultz will move the minutes of January 18th, 2017. Any additions or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Thank you, Representative Schultz. Okay. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, sir. And please keep your testimony to premium cigars. I don't want to talk about cigarettes. I don't want to talk about little cigars. I want the big ones. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Derek Smeagol. I own Churchill's Quality Cigars and Gifts in Victoria, Minnesota.
Welcome to the committee, sir.
Thank you very much. My wife and I opened Churchill's in August of 2014. We sell only premium cigars and accessories. There are no cigarettes, no vape, snus, flavored cigars, etc. We are not a multi-purpose store. Therefore, there's really no need for anybody under 18 to come into our store. The IPCPR, which is the International Premium Cigar and Pipe Retailers Association, is very supportive of our business and provides us with point of sale for identifying or IDing people under 27. I have those posted 3 places in my store. One is at the door as you enter the facility, one is on the humidor door, and one is at the cash register. Our vision is really about providing a unique experience for cigar smokers and to enjoy their investment. We provide comfortable and relaxing Sampling areas with upscale furniture, darts, card tables, cribbage available to enhance their experience. We offer free Wi-Fi, cable TV, and sports channels so they can stay connected and engage in Minnesota sporting teams. We've invested in a relaxing outside cigarden with comfortable deck furniture, music, fire pit, etc. by landscaping, also improving the scenery and reducing noise and enhancing their lifestyle experience. We've been overwhelmingly accepted in the city of Victoria and had nothing but positive comments from our neighbors, both residential and business. Our employees are extremely knowledgeable and engaging with the customers. Our neighbors visit with our employees on a regular basis, and we've become somewhat of a niche in the community. Our customers compliment us on keeping the property well-maintained and landscaped, while we tastefully promote our products. Churchill's is continually solicited and happily donate to community and private fundraisers, and just to list a couple here, the Star Gala for Children's Hospitals and Clinics of Minnesota Foundation. Locally, the Victoria Fire Department, we support both the police and fire department. Cigars and baseball, and this actually helps to promote and build baseball diamonds and fields for youth across the state of Minnesota, and many other community and personal fundraisers. Our small business supports 5 employees and their families in and around our community. We pay our property taxes. I own the building. We pay payroll taxes, and we pay all other fees and taxes that the city, county, and state of Minnesota requires. We have an established male and female clientele that enjoy our business on a regular basis, consisting of business owners and managers, construction workers, bartenders, retailers, college interns, doctors, and even politicians. Virtually all walks of life. There's never a day that goes by that you might have a business owner sitting next to somebody who just started their first job, gaining advice and understanding life in general. It's a destination for relaxation, after work, during work, even on a lunch break. It's a place to discuss and conduct business, watch sports, and yes, occasionally we discuss politics. We offer the opportunity to sample new cigars during inclement weather or the cold months of Minnesota. So we've really also been able to promote and provide opportunities for those attending special events in the area, such as conventions, the Ryder Cup, we're close to the Ryder Cup, Lions Club softball tournaments, local festivals, and I want to be around to see the Super Bowl and NCAA Final Four and the other events that this city, great city, brings to our state. So many of the adults that are traveling for these events engage in the cigar smoking lifestyle. They want to have some place to go during the downtime and have some fun, build some camaraderie, and that also supports the experience that they have in Minnesota. That said, we are struggling to stay in business due to the outrageous tax structure that we have on premium cigars. We cannot compete with online sales or neighboring states that have lower taxes. With these excessive taxes of 95% on our cost of goods sold, plus another 95% on our shipping alone, we're not changing the behavior of cigar smokers in Minnesota. And you can see this by the many social websites where they're posting their online sales and discussing it among cigar smokers. We're only driving these customers to different, cheaper alternatives to purchase their cigars, and the state of Minnesota is losing out on those tax dollars. We're losing, we lose sales, pay, jobs, business, ultimately state tax dollars, and enough's enough. I've got 85 to 90% of my customers that purchase online or outstate. 85 to 90%, and we get questions from those folks daily on what they've purchased, or they're giving us grief because our prices are so high they think that we're gouging them, which is completely unfair. These taxes are restricting our cash flow. It's affecting our ability to increase inventories to compete across state lines and with online suppliers due to the carrying costs that we have. It's affecting our ability to increase employees' pay per hour. It's affecting our ability to continue engaging in the community and supporting the community. It's affecting our ability to lower our debt ratio and invest in our businesses. It's affecting our ability to improve our customer experience overall, not only for our store, but in the state of Minnesota. So we're asking that you consider keeping our small businesses, our jobs, and competitive tax dollars in Minnesota versus driving this business to other alternatives, online and out of state, so we don't lose these tax dollars, but also we'll don't lose our small businesses, our jobs, and keep the tax dollars in our local community. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And how do you pronounce your last name again?
Smeagol, you are correct.
Smeagol. Got
Doesn't
that one right. Okay. And for future testifiers here, if you have that much testimony, cut it by about 2/3, please. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
First time, sir.
But that's fine, because we have a very big agenda today here. Okay, and I say that with all due respect. You did a great job. Thank you. Before we go with questions, was there anybody else in the audience other than those that I had listed that wished to testify on this bill? Okay, thank you. Questions for Mr. Smeagol? Thank you very much, sir. Great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Mark Volk, Stogies on Grand. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, sir.
Mark Wolk, and I own Stogies on Grand.
Welcome to the committee, sir.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mark Wolk, and I am the owner of Stogies on Grand. We have been operating on Grand Avenue for 19 years. We are not only a small business with 10 employees that count on us for their livelihood, we're also a vital part of the community on Grand Avenue and the greater St. Paul area. Our store has a unique culture that draws people of all walks of life to share experience and create friendships. Stogies on Grand brings thousands of shoppers from around the state and around the country into our neighborhood and onto our avenue. As a third-generation tobacconist, Stogies on Grand has helped customers celebrate weddings, birthdays, retirements, and the birth of babies. We have become a part of their celebrations and tradition. We have been woven into the fabric of their lives, and they have become the pillars that help us build a successful business. We are here today to tell you that the state of Minnesota continues to drive our customers away with our outrageously high taxes. These customers are finding alternative places to shop, spend their dollars to make purchases online or in neighboring states. This has been a persistent challenge to our business for years. However, in recent years, the problem has been increased due to the 95% tax, which does not serve the state's intent to change people's behavior. All this tax has done is change their shopping habits. They continue to smoke cigars, they drive just a half an hour or less to get to Wisconsin or purchase them online. For example, let's say the retail price of one box of cigars is $271 in Minnesota. In Wisconsin or Iowa, the same box of cigars would be $196, and on the internet, it would cost $170. Yes, that's correct, $100 cheaper on the internet, no sales tax, and free shipping. Ask yourself for the same product why you would shop local when you can buy this product significantly cheaper online and delivered to your door. We want to make it very clear that we do not promote nor do we want underage smoking. We are not a convenience store or a gas station where minors can enter and roam free without getting carded. People under 18 are not even allowed in our stores. I want to reiterate that although the state's intent in raising the cigar tax is to drive cigar smokers to quit, in reality they have just driven them to take their money out of Minnesota. This is not changing their behavior, only their shopping habits. The consequence is that our state is losing revenue unnecessarily. Minnesota does not regulate any other industry in the state this way. In targeting one small industry, Minnesota is driving us out of business. We are pleading with you to lower our taxes and keep the tax dollars in our state and local businesses in business.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Volk from members? Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Thank you.
The next person, Janelle Waldock, Vice President of Community Health and Health Equity at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
How's everything at the Blues today?
Great.
Going
Thank you.
okay?
Yes.
Well, welcome to the committee. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I'm Janelle Waldock. I'm the Vice President of Community Health and Health Equity at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota. I'm also co-chair of Minnesotans for a Smoke-Free Generation. We're a coalition of over 50 organizations working to prevent kids from tobacco addiction. We know that if we can prevent kids from starting, we can end tobacco's harm for good. Our coalition has big concerns with Representative Nash's bill. It would walk back progress that we've already seen from the actions that the state has taken on tobacco. In 2013, the legislature passed significant tobacco taxes. These touched all types of tobacco products, including cigars. Research shows that tobacco taxes have a direct impact on youth smoking. Raising the price of tobacco effectively taxes it out of kids' reach. After the tobacco tax passed in 2013, data from Minnesota showed that youth smoking of cigarettes decreased to its lowest rate ever, which
Ma'am,
is 10%.
could we talk about premium cigars?
Yep, my next sentence is about that.
Awesome.
Yep,
Thank
yep,
you very
I was just
much.
providing that for context.
Thank you.
But here's what's really interesting about what we saw from that tax. It didn't just decrease cigarette smoking by kids, it decreased cigar smoking as well. In fact, the year after the tax was the first time that the Minnesota Youth Tobacco Survey ever saw a decrease in the youth cigar rate. The tax worked where other ideas didn't. I know that some people are skeptical that youth use cigars, but in reality, they are a classic beginner tobacco product. Unlike cigarettes, they can be bought singly, and the tobacco industry is known for tailoring them in ways that draws kids in. For boys and young men in particular, cigars of the type described in this bill are really attractive. They symbolize success, wealth, and power. Unfortunately, they are no healthier and no less addictive, and there are no logical reasons to give them any special preference under the law. It benefits no one but the tobacco industry, which gets richer when it creates new loopholes that keep people smoking. Those of us working in public health policy have seen it again and again. Supporters of this proposal argue that it's nothing to do with kids, only adults at the top of the economic scale who can afford these expensive premium cigars. Well, if this proposal moves forward, the maximum tax on a cigar would be reduced from $3.50 to 50 cents. The tax on a $5 cigar would be 50 cents. The tax on a $50 cigar would be 50 cents. The tax on a $100 cigar would be 50 cents. Looking at it that way, a bigger tax would keep kids from smoking and would only affect those who can afford to pay it. It should be an easy choice to make. Thank you.
Thank you. And, I'm so privileged to represent District 28B. Right, if you look at the map that you have in your folders here, and I border Iowa and Wisconsin, and Minnesota's $3.50, and Wisconsin and Iowa are 50 cents. So we wouldn't be reducing it compared to them. We would just be equal with them.
Right.
Do you believe that anybody in my district is buying a premium cigar in my district?
Our point is that we want to keep the taxes high because there's a direct relationship between that level and the rate at which kids can get access to them and afford them to buy them.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Waldock? Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Waldeck, what is health equity?
Health equity,
Waldock?
Yes, so Mr. Chair, Representative Erickson. So in Minnesota, we face significant differences in health outcomes along lines of income and race, sexual orientation. And so health equity is really focused on closing those gaps and those disparities so that all Minnesotans can be as healthy as possible.
Chair Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is your opposition to this bill then related in some way from what you just said to your achieving health equity because more children of minority in the minority community might be smoking or what is the point you're making?
So in my role, Mr. Chair and Representative Erickson, I work on health equity. Our opposition to this bill affects all Minnesotans, those who face health disparities and those that do not. So it's not specifically focused on that part of the work that we do.
Chair Erickson. Chair Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Waldock, for your presentation. Ms. Waldock, people come into this committee and others often basically throwing around correlative types of statistics in order to prove their point. You did it multiple times in multiple ways. Show us or tell us or give us any evidence that there's causation involved here, because I don't think there is. I don't think you can prove it.
So
Waldeck, prove it.
yes, Chair David's representative, there is a lot of science that is established around the direct relationship between tobacco tax rates and smoking in general, including around cigars. I didn't bring all of the studies. We could fill this room with a number of studies that exist on that from credible organizations like the Centers for Disease Control, the Institute of Medicine, many, many others. But I'm happy to follow up with you and provide some of that evidence. And the piece around the influence of this tax on youth cigar use comes from data from the Minnesota Department of Health through their Minnesota Youth Tobacco Survey.
So, Mr. Chair?
Chair Drazkowski.
Thank you, Ms. Waldock, and I look forward to that data, and,
Yep.
and I suspect and expect that it'll be cigar-related data and not correlative stuff, but causation.
I'm happy to follow up, Representative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waldeck.
Mr. Chair?
I've got Representative Hertaus and Dab.
Oh,
Representative
all right.
Hertaus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I share some of the concerns that have already been expressed by other committee members, but you mentioned income inequality. By having the tax extraordinarily high on cigars, you're actually making it very difficult to achieve that goal. It would appear to me that if somebody with a lower income wanted to enjoy one of these fine cigars, that you're making and exacerbating the problem of income equality.
Ms. Waldeck?
So our Chair David's Representative Hertaus, the point I was making about income is that there's a strong correlation between price and people's ability, and especially kids' youth ability, to be able to access cigars. I wasn't making a general statement about income inequality in general. It's just the more expensive the product is, the harder it is for kids to buy.
Representative Hertaus?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the data that's in the packet, it would appear that with regard to the tax that's being collected, if we allowed people to buy cigars here rather than online or other states, we're just way, way higher than our neighboring states. This really doesn't help our business community at all. And I understand what you're trying to make, but there's a great inequity in terms of a level playing field here. Thank you.
Ms. Waldock, would you consider the current tax structure in Minnesota on premium cigars very regressive?
Chair there's a difference between our taxes and our neighboring states. Our goal as a health organization and the coalition that I'm here speaking for today is that it is most important for us that we keep kids from using cigars and that the health benefits outweigh some of the other considerations that are being discussed.
Ms. Waldock, do you consider this a regressive tax?
I think Chair Davids, there
Yes or
is.
no is fine.
So it is a regressive tax, and the health benefits that are achieved outweigh it because the diseases caused by these products are also regressive. Impact lower income communities more than higher income communities.
How do you figure that?
Because we know that when there are more folks in lower income communities that are using these products and getting diseases like cancer and heart disease, that impact is bigger in those communities. And there's a disparity there.
Do rich people get cancer and heart disease from these cigars?
They absolutely do, Chair Davids. It's just that the rate at which lower income people suffer from the consequences of these are higher because more people use the products in lower income classes.
But the lower income folks have better health insurance.
Chair Davids, I'm not sure about that.
I am. They have Medicaid or Minnesota Care, where if you're, middle to higher income, you have a $6,500 deductible and you have a $4,400 premium per month for a family of 4 from Blue Cross. So they would actually have better health care than people that are, middle income. Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would remind the committee that I think we've had 2 tobacco tax increases in my time in the legislature. The 2013 that is in play here, and then previous to that, 2000, Mr. Chair, 5 under Governor Palenti,
Mr. Clayman?
something like that.
Mr. Clayman, when of the last? Is he correct? Or close?
I'm not even getting hand signals from the audience. Come on, people.
Mr. Clayman?
Mr. Clayman?
Mr. Chair, I think that is the right year. I remember that as well.
Let's go to, I'm losing
Okay.
control here. Waldock, the years, you think?
I think Mr. Chair, I do believe it was 2005. I
Oh, okay.
remember
Sure,
back
Deb.
in the Palenti
Well,
administration.
so it's a good day, because I remembered 2005. That's a rare event.
Representative Dabney, just
At-
remember, if you attended Woodstock and you say you remember it, you weren't really there.
That's true. That's true.
Chair
Of
Dabney.
course, I have the same experience, I think, with dinner last night. But I would remind members that that tax increase on tobacco was driven by Governor Palenti, and it was driven to help deal with rising healthcare costs and the need for adequate health care in the state that was affordable, a problem that we are, again, confronting as the private insurance industry collapses in the face of rising costs and rising demand. I appreciate Chair Drazkowski's deep commitment to science. I would just ask that we hold all witnesses to that same level of accuracy, research, and documentation. Mr. Schmegel came forward, and the gentleman, I didn't catch his name, from Stogies on Grand? Yes. Okay.
Mr. Wolk.
Mr. Wolk, and used a lot of adjectives, made dramatic claims, and offered absolutely no evidence whatsoever. So if we're going to demand that health advocates be research-based and causational in their responses, I would ask that we hold all witnesses to that same level. Mr. Schmegel opened his business in 2014. The tax went up in 2013. And my memory, again, is that the internet existed at that time as well.
I believe Al Gore invented the internet in 1978. 78, was it?
78? Okay.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Dabney? Representative Loeffler.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the results in terms of reducing youth use of these products is absolutely impressive. And for those of you who I know get frustrated at how fast our Health and Human Services budget grows, it's primarily healthcare. And this is the most preventable cause of healthcare costs and premature death that we have. And if you can prevent kids from starting early, you've probably kept them off for the rest of their life. And kids are really price sensitive. And so I think we need to look at the broader impact on the Minnesota budget, which also includes that large and growing part of our system. We'll be talking more about healthcare later today. But my question for Ms. Waldock is, I believe you said you were representing a coalition, and could you again say how many, and if it's too long a list, if you could provide us a list of the organizations, maybe give us some of the biggest members in your coalition?
Yes, so Chair
Waldock?
Davis, Representative Loeffler. So I am the co-chair of Minnesotans for a Smoke-Free Generation. We have a list of coalition members that is over 50 organizations wide. Some of the biggest members, certainly organizations that you know, are the American Cancer Society, the American Lung Association, the American Heart Association, Clearway Minnesota, health plans and provider organizations, Blue Cross, Alina, Health Partners, and many, many more.
Representative Loeffler.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Waldock, because I remember when we passed this, we had a lot of testimony from people within the health industry who could reinforce that point about how this prevents premature deaths, disability, and costs. And so I think we need to recognize that this is not just one person from one entity testifying. It's representing a broad group of voices across Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Loeffler. Any other questions? Chair Erickson.
Yeah, just a comment, Mr. Chair. When Governor Palenti was dealing with this tobacco tax, I remember his saying to us that it's a changing culture. And that's the reason that tobacco is used less, because people are, not because of these demands that are coming from these coalitions, but because the culture has changed in what people enjoy doing, and smoking just wasn't that enjoyable anymore. So that's what he argued would be a reason for the tax.
Well, I'd also like to remind Representative Dabney that, Palenti raised the cigarette tax, and you'll notice he's not here anymore. So is there causation?
Interesting point.
Just a thought.
It
And I did
would,
use your name,
it
Representative
would,
Abney.
thank you, it probably would require some deep research as to whether that was causal or
It
whatever.
may have had an effect.
What's the other one? Correlated, thank you. You know, you can always rely on
Or,
staff.
excuse me, Representative. Representative
Mr.
Law.
Chair, as long as we're walking down memory lane, I think it's important to say that its name was the health impact fee in
Oh, so
2005.
he didn't raise the tax.
No, it was, and then we had a bill about what is a tax and what is a fee, and it was an
I
interesting
remember
time.
that now. It was not a tax, it was a health impact fee. Another three-letter word. There you go. I see no more questions from Ms. Waldock.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair?
Representative Law.
And Chair Marquardt reminds me that it was carried in the Health and Human Services bill as a result, not the tax bill, because
it
the
was not a
governor
tax.
did not want to be associated with raising taxes.
How'd that work for him?
Not so good.
Okay, so if there's no further questions for Ms. Waldock, thank you very much for your
Thank you, Chair.
testimony. And say, if you could give Mr. Guyette my best, I'd appreciate it.
I will do that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Let's go to Dr. Russell Lipker or Lupker. I don't want to mess that up. And I would also remind members that, you know, I named my tax bills. In the 2011 tax bills, the smoking hot tax bill, there were no cigarette taxes in that one, just so you know. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, Doctor.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman Davis and members. I'm Russell Lupker. I'm a cardiologist at the University of Minnesota. I am the Mayo Professor of Public Health and a volunteer of the American Heart Association.
Welcome, committee, Doctor.
Thank you. I am here to express my strong disapproval of House File 123, along with any other effort that seeks to provide tax relief for the tobacco industry. I personally testified here on behalf of increasing taxes on tobacco in 2013, including premium cigars, and am pleased that the legislature followed that and the positive health effects I'll mention. Came back 2 years ago with a similar bill to that being seen today. Research demonstrates causation, not correlation, that increasing taxes on tobacco reduces use among kids, it helps people quit of all ages, and it saves lives. Why would we want to undermine such an effort by giving a tax break to premium cigars? What are the health effects of cigars? Facts are well known and really not debated. Cigar smoke, like cigarette smoke, contains toxic and cancer-causing chemicals, harmful to both smokers and non-smokers that are exposed to them. Actually, cigar tobacco has a higher level of cancer-causing nitrosamines and tars than regular cigarette tobacco because of the way it's cured. Cigar smoking causes oral cavity cancers of the lips, the tongue, the mouth, the throat, the voice box, the esophagus, and the lungs, in addition to heart disease. For those of us who care for patients that have these things, it is a very miserable way to die. A premium cigar, such as we're discussing here, can have 20 grams of tobacco, the same as an entire packet of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes. Some say cigars are better because you don't inhale, but people who have smoked cigarettes and switched to cigars inhale. And the effects are the same as cigarettes, in addition to the oral cancers that are uniquely increased with cigars. So in summary, there are many things you can do on this committee to benefit the state of Minnesota, but passing File 123 is not one of them. I strongly encourage you to stand up to the tobacco industry and to refuse to give them this tax break. We need to keep Minnesotans healthy and continue our position as one of the healthiest states in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. You mentioned twice that we're giving a big tax break to the tobacco industry. Could you please show me in House File 123 where we do that?
Sure, I don't have House
Doctor.
files, but I can answer that question. What
Where
you're
do we
doing,
give the tax break to the tobacco companies? You said it twice.
right. Well, the people that manufacture, Mr. Chairman, the people that manufacture tobaccos are indeed being given a break from the current situation. Current situation has a tax, as mentioned earlier, of over $3 on premium cigars. They want a break on that. They
Doctor,
want to
you
pay
may
less.
wish to read the bill. You're not describing the bill. The bill does not give tobacco companies any break whatsoever. It lowers a very, very regressive tax that's hurting the poorest of the poor, is what it does, is what the bill does. There's nowhere in the bill where we, Mr. Clayman, is there anywhere in the bill where this bill gives a break to tobacco companies?
Mr. Chair, House File 123 establishes a lower maximum rate for a premium cigar. And under current Minnesota law, the other tobacco products tax, the 95% wholesale tax, including the premium cigar tax, is imposed at the wholesale level. So, and the Department of Revenue could probably speak more specifically to this situation, but it would be the distributor, the tobacco distributor, who ends up paying the tax.
So, Mr. Clayman, the tobacco company does not pay the tax.
Mr. Chair, under this bill, that's correct. However, we may have a provision in the tobacco statutes for manufacturing tobacco products, at which point the tobacco manufacturer who's in the state would pay the tax, but typically that's not the situation.
I understood the wholesalers pay the tax. I just want to be accurate here because I hear that all the time, that they were giving a big break to big tobacco, and we're not. Okay, questions for the doctor? President Petersburg.
Thank you. That question, thank you, Mr. Chair, and that question raises, so are the tobacco companies or retailers, wholesalers, whatever, paying the tax, or are they collecting the tax? Which is different, I think, and I think
Clayman?
clarification.
Mr. Clayman.
Mr. Chair, Representative, the tobacco retailer, when they purchase a product from the distributor, the price they pay to the distributor would be inclusive of the tax that was imposed at the wholesale level. And then on top of that tax, there would be the cigars would be subject to the state sales tax as well.
That's a good point, Mr. Petersburg. Not even the retailers, they don't pay the tobacco tax. It's the person that pays the tax. They just collect it for the state. Point well taken. Questions for the doctor? Representative Hertaus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Doctor, once upon a time, I was a coronary care nurse and understand the complexities of what that means to coronary artery disease. I myself personally, I don't smoke and I don't like smoke, but I guess I'm wondering, is there any other behavior that the state should also regulate? Is there anything that we cannot tax enough to have the state sanction adult-like behavior that really should be up to the decision of the individual?
Doctor?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Garofalo, I'm sorry, I'm reading the name tag. Hertog, sorry, sir.
Thank you for that distinction.
That was kind of mean, Doctor.
You know, this is obviously an inside joke that I can't relate to.
Doctor, you have the floor,
But
sir.
in answer to your question, sir, I'm here to talk about tobacco and regulation of other things I'm not here to talk about or advocating. Tobacco is a leading, if not the leading, cause of disease and disability in this world. And reducing it reduces disease, death, and disability. There's no argument about the science of that. And this bill has the impact of encouraging people to use tobacco, which is harmful to their health and the health of people who are around them.
Representative Hertaus?
Well, thank you. And I had two parents that smoked 2 packs of Camels a day. One died of lung cancer, the other one died of cancer. I was always captive in the back seat of a vehicle in the wintertime of having to breathe that, and that's probably the reason I don't like tobacco. But nonetheless, for me, this is really a liberty issue, and really it should be up to, informed decisions made by adults. And I really get a little excited when the state feels that it has to be a nanny over every person's individual decisions. Thank you, sir.
Questions for the doctor? Thank you very much for your testimony, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The next person, Megan McFarling, a student at Mounds View High School. I believe your colors are green and white, home of the mighty Mustangs, I believe?
Yeah, correct.
All right, go Mustangs.
Yeah.
Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Hey, good morning, Chair Davids and committee members. My name is Megan McFarling, and I represent Mounds View High School and ASNR. I live in Shoreview, and I am a junior at Mounds View High School. I already said that, but I am captain of the swim team. I am involved in youth and government, and I am officer of the Mounds View Volunteer Club. And I am here to tell you why you should not support this bill or any proposal that helps people start smoking or stay smoking. The majority of my friends are 15, 16, and 17 years old, and I would guess about half of them use tobacco products, so a lot of them. They are not difficult to get if you know where to buy them, and you would be surprised to learn that most of them are using cigars. They start out with Swisher Sweets, usually, and they come in candy-like flavors and packages, and they disguise the true dangers. Though I would never smoke one because I know how terrible they are, I love sweets and chocolate, and I understand the appeal. And I've seen from older kids how when you start with cheap products, you move on to the more expensive ones once you can afford them. And once you're addicted, you buy them even if you can't afford them. When I told some of my friends that I was going to be testifying about cigars, some of them were angry because they're afraid that it will be harder for them to get. They called me a snitch and said I shouldn't ruin things for them. And that made me sad. Not because it hurt my feelings, because it didn't. But it made me sad because they're being brainwashed by tobacco companies into believing that smoking is cool and that'll make you feel good. Kids think cigars are harmless compared to cigarettes, and they don't realize what addiction is, and that the more they do, the harder and harder it is to stop. One puff leads to another and another and another, and it all adds up to a lifelong addiction, and it leads to a short life. But you can protect our teens and future generations to come from these dangerous and deadly products. You can reject this bill and any other that makes tobacco easier to afford. I hope you will take a stand to protect kids and to make the health of Minnesota a priority. Thank you.
And thank you very much for a very good testimony there.
Thank you.
I need to clear something up, though, in my mind. Representative Nash, does this have anything to do with Swisher Sweets?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. No, it does not. And I'm grateful for Ms. McFarling coming to testify. It's good when a high schooler comes to get engaged in the process. I will say that Mr. Smeagol didn't provide the testimony that we helped him pare it back for your benefit, Mr. Chair. But he's been contacted by Carver County compliance officers. They've tried to have underage smokers go into the store and buy cigars. And he could clarify for me, but I think that he's prevented every single one of them, and I think there's been 5 or 6 times. So I would argue that it's very difficult for underage smokers to get premium cigars.
Thank you. And I don't like smoking. I don't like smoke. I smoked one Swisher Sweet in my life. I was going to a Farm Bureau convention in 1982 with another agent that just bought a brand new S10 Blazer. Left a great big hole in his seat. That was my last Swisher. That was 1982. So any questions for Ms. McFarling? And don't let the kids get to you. You don't feel bad for doing the right thing.
I haven't.
Okay, go Mustangs, is what I say.
Thank you.
Good job.
Chair Carlson.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, mine is just a comment, but I interpreted her testimony to talk about how young people then graduate to the other tobacco products and the more expensive ones. And I think earlier comments about her testimony kind of neglected that part of the message that she was trying to convey. Am I correct on that?
We did not neglect you in any way. Okay? Okay, any other questions for the witness? Thank you very much. Give the Mustangs my best.
Thank you.
And I believe the last testifier before I'll ask the department if they would like, where's the department?
Hiding over here.
Why is he over there? Would you like to testify, or you want to?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, it's not as a resource or anything, or?
Good morning.
Okay. Okay, our last testifier on this one, then we'll get to the next bill. Now, could the person on the list that I said please come up? Oh, you're right here.
Yes.
I want to do your name right. Could you please state your name for the record?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I am Sheku Samba.
Welcome to the committee, sir.
Yeah,
Please provide your testimony.
yeah. Good morning, members of this committee. As I say, I'm Sheku Samba. I'm from Brooklyn Center. I am part of the multicultural advisory group working with the community in order to promote healthy relationship between the police and the community. And I'm proud to announce to you that I was recently featured in the Star Tribune for my community engagement effort in order to promote such a healthy relationship. Then, as you can see, the burden of smoking falls disproportionately on minority population. Most ethnic groups use tobacco more than any other groups in Minnesota. Now, we have seen recently the effort on the part of the tobacco industry to recruit replacement smokers. And this has been done with the introduction of many flavors, and cigar is no exception to this effort. Now, it is clear that higher prices discourage consumption. But if you make cigar less or make it cheaper, it will encourage price-sensitive smokers to use this product, particularly the youths. Cigar causes cancer, disease, death, and disability. This preventable health tragedy does not occur in a vacuum. It occurs because the tobacco industry targets our community. I am also proud to announce to you that I was part of the effort in Brooklyn Center to introduce the policy to restrict access to cigar from the children. And this, I'm very proud to have been part of that process. Since price has a profound effect on smoking, your effort today to reject this bill will be very much helpful in promoting the health and well-being of our community. I therefore encourage you, I urge you to reject this bill.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the witness? Okay, thank you. If you'd wrap it, thank you very much, sir. If you'd wrap it up, Representative Nash?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Oh, I didn't see your hand. Excuse me. Chair Carlson.
Yeah, I was interested in asking a question of the author, if I could.
Oh, okay.
When you said wrap it up, I thought you were perhaps going to.
Yeah, okay, we'll go to the author, Chair Carlson.
Yeah, we haven't talked about one of the changes in the bill, and I would be interested in knowing why the change and who benefits. And that's on line 1.8, where you're striking current language where it says "and hand rolled." So it would read that is hand constructed. So what does that change mean, and who benefits from that distinction?
Representative Nash?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Carlson. There are premium cigars that are machine-made, so they're roughly the same construct. They are sold in premium cigar stores as well, but they are not hand-rolled. So it's a similar product, just not made by a person. It's made by a machine.
Chair Carlson?
It reads, premium cigar means that any cigar that is hand-constructed has a wrapper and so on. So you're still talking about one that's hand-constructed. What's being struck is hand-rolled. It doesn't distinguish or say anything about a machine. It said it's still going to be hand-constructed.
Representative Nash?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Representative Carlson, it's basically trying to say that a cigar, either machine-made or hand-rolled, is hand-constructed or constructed by the machine, putting them on parity with one another, and believe currently they are, obviously, since we're striking it, they're not dealt with the same way.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's not
Mr.
what it
Carlson.
says.
Mr. Klayman, could you describe what we're looking at here?
Mr. Chair, members, what we're looking at, line 1.8, the definition of premium cigar would change to eliminate the reference to, strike the reference to and hand-rolled, but it would retain that, the definitional requirement that the cigar still has to be hand-constructed. And I think the question, as I understand it, that's being asked is, what's the difference between hand-constructed and hand-rolled in terms of how that changes the definition of a premium cigar? And I'm not aware of precisely what that difference is, although I would just note that the Department of Revenue would have to administer this provision and currently is administering the provision. To the extent they've run into this interpretive question in the past, they may be able to shed some light on it, and I can certainly follow up with the department and do some other research to get a handle on precisely what that distinction is.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Chair Carlson.
it doesn't indicate machine, and when it says hand-constructed, that to me means that it's not machine constructed, it has to be constructed by hand. And then we further, in the old law, or what we're attempting to change here, would say, and hand-rolled, but it does still have to be hand-constructed. So if somebody is trying to change the definition so that machine-constructed cigars would also now be premium cigars, I guess, that's why I had as part of my question, who benefits? So are there
We have
companies that
someone
would
can
benefit
maybe
because
answer
they
that
machine
question for
construct
us.
them?
Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, sir.
My name is Court Holt, and I represent the Cigar Association of America, which includes most of the world's cigar manufacturers.
Could you please address the Carlson question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Representative Carlson, you have a good point there. This obviously, this language was written by others a few years ago, and they had an image in their mind, I believe, of what a premium cigar is. If you look at that language, if you took hand-constructed and hand-rolled out, the remaining criteria that's still there is what really defines a premium cigar. The times are changing, and the complete construction of a cigar, including the rolling by an individual, is just about everybody's image of those cigars. There's now, when they use machines, there's a combination of activity, especially involving the outer layer, which is the most expensive piece. And so, hand-constructed without being hand-rolled is a possibility, but I just heard somebody, I think it was staff, comment on the department's job and sometimes having difficulty in determining what the legislature meant. So my suggestion is if you took the constructed and rolled language, if you took them both out, the remaining criteria describes a premium cigar, and it wouldn't conflict with the companies that are starting to use part of the process with machines, as it's becoming harder to find individuals that seek this type of employment.
Yeah, I'm going to try to improve on time management here because I'm not doing very well. We have 4 bills left, and I want to ask the question, is there anyone here to testify on the other 4 bills that is from more than 50 miles away?
Yes, I have a constituent who is.
Okay, so we need to wrap this up. And
Mr. Chairman,
that
if I may,
constituent will-
I'll drop
Chair Carlson.
I'll drop my inquiry here and wait for staff to maybe check with the department, just so what we're knowing, so we know what we're doing here
And I
with that
appreciate that,
language.
Chair.
Sometimes a simple change
Right.
has ramifications beyond what we sometimes expect.
I agree with
So
you
I'll just
100
drop it at this point.
And I appreciate that, but I agree with you 100%. This issue will have to be worked out before it, and we're not voting on this today. So I appreciate that, to Representative Carlson, Representative Loeffler.
Well, and thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think that is actually a big issue, and the question was raised, well, how does this benefit big tobacco or tobacco manufacturers? And this change actually does. It allows them to cheapen their manufacturing process, make a higher profit off of this, and perhaps promote as premium products that are not currently considered premium. It might even be something for the Commerce Committee to consider, because it does change the market.
No, it's not going to go to Congress. Okay, but we will have answers before there's any vote on this issue. If you'd wrap it up, Representative Nash.
Yep, Mr. Chair, thank you, Representative
And
Carlson.
thank you, Representative Holting.
Happy to work with you
Or
to
Mr.
clarify that.
Holton. Thank you, Mr. Holton, for your testimony, confusing us even further. Okay, Representative Nash.
Yeah, once again, Mr. Chair, thank you, and Representative Carlson, Representative Loeffler, I'm happy to work with you to clarify that. You know, again, the purveyors, the shops, there are many up here that have driven from all across Minnesota to come. They're asking for us to act on this. You've heard that they get involved in their community, and they're trying to create economic parity with surrounding states and online retailers. And Mr. Chair, I ask for your support. I'm done with this bill.
Okay, so am I. I will move House File 123, be laid over for possible inclusion in omnibus tax bill. Thank you, Representative Nash, and to everyone that testified. Item next, House File 186. I will move House File 186, and I have a whole bunch of folks testify. And there's an amendment, the A2 amendment. It's an author's amendment. Generally in this committee, we get the bill in the shape the author would like, so I will move the H018682 amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevailed. We now have House File 186 as amended, and so I'm going to request, that's amended. I have a Deborah Everson, Hillary Feder, Lonnie McCorder, Bruce Newstead, Minnesota Grocers Association, Jamie. Anyone else wish to testify on this bill, for this bill, with concerns? Department? A little bit. You got it. You got it as long as you want there, Mr. Cummings. Okay, so sure, whatever you have for testimony, cut her in half. Okay, please state your name and who you represent for the record, please. Well, Representative Nash.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and members, thank you once again. Still here, sorry, disappoint you, I almost was going to leave. This bill is another bill that we've published in the past. It's a vendor tax collection bill. It's going to help Main Street, Minnesota. I do have a number of testifiers here that will speak to the virtues of being able to really put some money back in the hands of the retailers who are processing and doing compliance work on an everyday basis. My first testifier is a person from my district, and just for full disclosure, longtime friends. They own a hardware store in Waconia, and about 6 months ago, my wife did start working for them. So just wanted to put that on the record that, you know, she wanted to get out of the house and use big people words and landed there. So
This could be a conflict of interest.
I leave that to your discretion, Chair.
Okay, we'll take the testimony.
Okay.
Yeah, this looks like a real controversial one here.
Well, you
Please
noticed,
state-
Mr. Chair, that the TV cameras have left, so it may be considerably less controversial than the last one.
Okay, okay, please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Deborah Everson, and I am one of the owners of Everson's Hardware Hank in Waconia. We are family-owned and operated, and last year we had the pleasure of celebrating 50 years in business. It was fun to see customers who were with us 50 years ago and also be able to meet customers who are new to the community. We are what one would consider your typical small-town, family-owned hardware store. We have what you need and what you need to know. We are part of the fabric of Waconia, and as we see small-town hardware retailers and other communities closing, we consider it a privilege to still be in business and value our customers. Being a small business owner is not without its struggles. With online retailers like Amazon and the big box stores, the increase in cost of goods as well as increasing wages and taxes, it's becoming more difficult for us to keep our doors open. We are happy to be a sales tax collection partner with the state, but it comes at a cost. We are collecting, administering, and remitting sales tax for the state of Minnesota. We are shouldering the burden of collecting sales tax for the state, whether it's through the Paint Care program or credit card sales. We are paying the state to collect tax money for the state. This not only eats into our time serving our customers, but into our abilities to reinvest into our business and employees, and there is less money available for our local community. We enjoy supporting our local high school band, the Lions Club, the Waconia Fire Department, and other community programs, but we would like to do more. While the vendor collection allowance won't cover all of our costs of collecting the sales tax, it will enable us to invest in our people and our community. We are here asking the state to recognize that there are costs to being the state's sales tax collection partner and to help us by supporting this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I correct that when you accept a payment through the credit card system for products that include sales tax, you are also charged the fee on that sales tax as well?
That is correct.
Ms. Everson?
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've always said, if they don't have it at Hardware Hank, you probably don't need it.
That would be correct.
That'd be correct, yes, okay, for the record. Okay, we'll go to Hillary Feder, I believe. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Thank you, Chair Davis. My name is Hillary Feder, and I have a store, Hillary's Personalized Gifts, on Main Street in Hopkins, Minnesota. We have been located there since 1991. I have a staff of 4. My business is mostly patronized by people who are actually gifting other people, and I would estimate that 85 to 90% of what we produce, it's all customized gift product, we are responsible for shipping somewhere to our clients. So we don't transact the sale right in the store. When we started in business in the end 1989, the sales tax in the state was 6%, and literally if you were a Minnesota resident or you were standing in my store, you paid the sales tax. Over the years, the sales tax has changed where there are county taxes, city taxes, and it's important for us to know where we're delivering the product because we're responsible for collecting and then submitting the sales tax based on the point of delivery. So it complicates our world a lot. We have orders that come in through our internet system. We have orders that come in through people standing in our store, and we have orders that come in through people who are calling them in. Determining exactly where something is going, so to be sure that each sales associate knows how to collect the sales tax appropriately takes time and effort and training. Making sure that our accounting system has all of the taxes, the different taxes logged correctly, so that when we have to collect it, we're collecting it correctly and it categorizes it correctly for later submission. And when we are working through our website, we also have to make sure that that is kept up to date. All of that takes a fair amount of time and energy. I would estimate that a person on my team sometimes is investing more time and I am paying them more money than we are actually collecting and remitting to the state, particularly when we're talking about the city and county taxes, where we're really not located and we don't ship to very often. So it takes a lot of energy to do this and do it well. And when we make mistakes, I've had sales tax audits. We are penalized when we've made an honest error. It takes a fair amount of time. It's hard to train a high school student, which retail is filled with high school students, to know exactly how to collect the tax right and answer all the right questions. So making sure that we're employing the right people, providing the right training, updating our systems as frequently as the tax changes to the delivery point, all takes time and energy. And I'm estimating that it could be upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 a year in an employee's time that it costs me. And to the point that was made earlier, we are also paying on the sales tax for when we're processing a credit card, which we're paying the fee to the credit card company as well, which provides us convenience for delivery of funds.
What town are you in?
Hopkins.
You're in Hopkins?
Yep, Main Street, Hopkins, 914.
You said customized gifts. Do you have cross pens?
We do, and we
You-
customize them with a custom signature.
Do you have Schaefer?
We do.
Wow. Those in Hopkins?
Yep.
Okay, Representative Chair Detmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's probably for the author. Say if a vendor travels from one city to the next, would this bill apply to those types of vendors that have to collect different levels of tax from one city to the next city to the next city? A good example is a company that has inflatable playgrounds that goes from one city to the next to put on at public events or whatever. Now, would this help those vendors when they collect taxes?
I'm going to go to Ms. Dalton's on that.
Mr. Chair, Representative Detmer, I think I know the issue that you were talking
Right.
about, and yes, this would provide a vendor allowance for those people.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's
Chair
all I was
Detmer.
gonna say. I carried that bill last session, and that was something that I saw this in here, and I just wanted to make sure.
That was a fine piece of legislation, I might add.
Thank you.
Questions for Ms. Fetter? Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. Let's go to Lonnie McWhorter. Welcome to the committee, sir. If you please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, sir.
Thank you. Lonnie McWhorter, owner of 36 Lane Refuel Station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, Speaker and members of the committee for hearing my
Welcome to the
testimony.
committee, sir.
I operate a convenience store of staff of 8, 5 full-time, 3 part-time by choice in South Minneapolis. We of our staffs, 5 have actually been with us for more than a year, and the other 3 just pretty recently. We work extremely hard to deliver great service and also good products to our customers, and that's one of the reasons why we have great online reviews and great rapport with our community as well. In the calendar year of 2016, just for reference, what we paid in credit card fees was $204,466.62.
That's the credit card fees?
That is correct, sir.
So you got to pay the sales tax on that.
So of that, there's a small portion of that would be sales tax, but, similar to when I go to DMV to renew my license and I pay with a credit card, I pay a fee to do so for that convenience. All I wish to do, along with the rest of the retailers, is be treated in like fashion, that we able to collect some sort of fee or some sort of vendor, not a fee, but with the vendor collection allowance. With the vendor collection allowance, it allows us to kind of recoup and offset the costs associated with credit cards.
Very good. And please continue.
Oh, that was my testimony, sir.
Any questions for Mr. McWhorter? Thank you very much, sir. Let's go to Mr. Bruce Newstead for some very short testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Bruce Newstead with the Minnesota Retailers Association. We represent retailers around the state, including like those you have heard from today. And just a couple quick points on this bill. Thank you to Representative Nash and Representative from Red Wing here for their leadership on this, and many around the room have supported in the past, including a bill that you've carried, Mr. Chair. And I just want to point out competitively, 28 states across the country actually provide some type of vendor collection allowance for their retailers, and quite frankly, anyone who collects state sales tax. So that could be a nonprofit, could be any type of business that collects state sales tax. Competitive here in Minnesota, all of our surrounding states, with the exception of Iowa, actually provide for that in their tax code as well. So it is important, and as I think the testifiers have said, generally, retailers are very happy to be a part of the state sales tax collection system, but would appreciate some type of consideration within that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Newstead.
Mr. Chair, if I
So
could.
it's 28 states, you said, that do allow some type of allowance?
Correct, Mr. Chair, 28 states.
Okay, Representative Nash.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. As Mr. Newstead mentioned, Representative Haley has been very helpful with me on this bill, and she wanted to speak briefly to it. We had talked several months ago as we were out working in her district, and I'll just let her comment as to what her retailers were telling her.
Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Representative Barb Haley
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Just a brief comment again as I was out talking to business owners. This is a very important piece of legislation because, as you all know, I represent Red Wing, Goodhue, Wabasha, Lake City, Cannon Falls, beautiful small communities, and our Main Street businesses are the lifeblood of those communities. As you've heard from other business owners, they're the folks that contribute to the baseball leagues and support our downtown. Their comment to me over and over again is how burdensome our tax structure is. So this is one opportunity we have to help them with that burden and so that they can reinvest their dollars back into our communities. And I'd appreciate your support of this bill. Thank you, Chair.
And I apologize to the committee for allowing Representative Haley to talk without bringing snacks and treats, but we'll have to make an exception. Representative Nash, watch
I'll
it
take
next
ownership
time.
of that.
Okay, thank you.
Duly noted.
Okay, Minnesota Grocers Association, please state your name and who you represent for the record. Then we're going to the department, then we're going to the next bill. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chair Davids. My name is Jamie Poole, and I'm president of the Minnesota Grocers Association, and I too will keep it very brief because I think our previous testimonies have done a great job explaining the issue. The Minnesota Grocers Association is a state trade association, and we represent over 300 retail, wholesale, and manufacturer partners. We have about 1,100 locations statewide, and about 1 out of every 20 jobs comes out of our members. Currently, our membership pays the costs surrounding collection of sales tax and the remittance to the Department of Revenue. These costs obviously include point of sale programming, employee training, equipment updates, accounting system setups, and execution of state audits. And any of you that own businesses and have experienced the state audit, you know the staff hours and the challenges that can go into that. The bill before you today simply allows for a vendor collection allowance that will be reimbursed to all retailers, a small percentage of that sale. One of the things that I think is notable, in 2013, the Minnesota State Legislature did pass a bill acknowledging that there's an administrative cost. It's called in the E911 legislation. If we get prepaid phone cards and we're responsible to sell those, we work in partnership with the Department of Revenue. We collect those dollars, and then we keep a portion of that, and the rest is submitted back that goes on to public safety. So there's a mechanism and a model that already executes this in state law, and I think that that's a notable that you should be aware of. And with that, I would like to thank Representative Nash, Representative Haley for their work on this, and I will step off. Thank you, Chair Davids.
Just hold on here a second. We have a question. Chair Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two questions, one for Mr. Newstead and for Ms. Poole, too. I was hoping that, given the change in the bill with the new amendment, you've got it broken down by the value of how much is collected. And I'd be curious to know, of your members that you represent, if you can provide me with a map of where those people reside. So for those folks that are taking a tax liability of less than $60,000, those that are between $60,000 and $600,000, I'd like to see it visually on an entire state of the map of where these businesses rest predominantly. So if you could provide that. And then for Ms. Dalton, I was just curious, prior to the amendment, what was the cost to the state? Without the amendment, what would the cost have been?
Ms. Dalton.
Mr. Chair, Representative Sarah Anderson, we did not get a revenue estimate before we knew we were doing the amendment, so we gave them the amendment, and they only did a revenue estimate with the amendment on.
Okay.
Chair Anderson.
Hopefully, Ms. Templin can maybe get me that data later on.
Well, let's back up here a second. Mr. Newstead, did you understand Chair Anderson's question?
I did, and we'll do our best to accommodate that.
Okay, and so then you will hook up with, you will talk to Ms. Templin to get those numbers? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much to the testifiers, members. Representative Nash, I will move House File 186 as amended. Oh, jeez, sorry. Department of Revenue.
Good morning. Good morning.
Please state your name and who you represent, and take all the time you'd like.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Representative Nash, and members. For the record, my name is Paul Cummings, and I'm the Tax Policy Manager at the Minnesota Department of Revenue. I was able to connect with Representative Nash right before the hearing. As I was sitting here, I sort of want to go out to Waconia and see this hardware store. No, I want to go out to Hopkins and see what, but.
Most people do.
Yeah. So this
want to come to Waconia.
Kind of exciting. We
Mr.
appreciate the partnership of the thousands of vendors who collect sales tax and other trust taxes in Minnesota. There are many ideas related to vendor allowance. Representative Nash has brought one approach forward. I'm sure that Ms. Dalton has drafted many, if not dozens of these types of bills. If a vendor allowance approach or proposal is included in the final package, we want to work with you, Mr. Chair, to ensure it provides the intended relief, but also works in a way that works well for our customers in the most efficient way possible to cut down on confusion and difficulty. There are ways to ensure that this can be easily programmed into the way that people collect and remit sales tax, and we want to ensure that it works well. So if this bill moves through the process, the Department of Revenue looks forward to working with the chair, Representative Nash, and staff. Thanks for the opportunity to be a resource.
So you're enthusiastically neutral?
Mr. Chair, we are a resource.
You are a resource. That's even better. Code words going on here. Okay, now, any other questions, Mr. Cummings? Chair Drazkowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cummings, thank you. Do you know, or can you tell us if the governor supports this provision?
Mr. Cummings.
So, Mr. Chair, Representative Drazkowski, as the tax bill was put out, budgets are try to put together and which are the ways is to be included in the budget. And so this was something that was not included in the initial governor's budget. But I know this is also something that we want to ensure that we're working in partnership with you if this is something that is put into the House package as it moves forward.
Chairman Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cummings.
Any other questions, Representative Metsa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment from a couple of experiences I've had in having to contact revenue for some folks who made honest mistakes and were getting audited. Just thank you for working with us and being a partner. You were, and we appreciated it.
Thank you, Representative.
Any other questions or comments from members? Okay, I will renew my motion that House File 186 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in the yet-to-be-named omnibus tax bill. Item next, I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. I'm going to go to House File 138, so members, if you please take out House File 138, June accelerated. This committee has looked at this issue many times, but I believe we have a witness from more than 50 miles away that we'll want to have testimony from. Chairman Knoblach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that House File 138 be included in the omnibus tax bill, and I'd like to move the A1 amendment. Members, the A1 amendment just changes the effective date from 2017 to 2018. We found that with the 2017 date, we'd be impacting the legacy funds that were already appropriated for 2017 and causing a deficit if we actually implemented this at this time. So this just moves back the effective date. I'd appreciate your support.
Any questions from members? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment is adopted. That's the H0138A1 amendment. Okay, to the bill as amended, Chairman Knoblach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members, House File 138 eliminates what is commonly called the June accelerator. As members know, the state fiscal year ends June 30th. The state accounting system is on a cash basis. Thus, funds collected by June 30th in any year are counted as revenue to the state that year. Sales taxes for 1 month are normally due on the 20th day of the following month. However, the June accelerator requires retailers who pay more than $250,000 in sales taxes in a year to pay 81.4% of the estimated sales tax due in June by June 28th instead of July 20th, with the remainder due the following August. This shift was first put in place to deal with the budget crisis of 1981. At that time, it was a 50% number. It's an 81.4% number. It was 90% until 2014, when a bill authored by former tax chair Lincheski reduced it from 90% to 81.4%. The reduction and elimination of this shift has always been a bipartisan effort. Members, we should get rid of this shift in the name of fairness and helping businesses with their cash flow, but we should also do it so that if we ever have and when we have another budget crisis, this is an additional tool we'd have available to deal with that crisis. I realize this is a very large one-time cost, but we could scale it back to a lower level, such as the 50% level where it once started in 1981, or set it up on some sort of phase out over time so we could gradually get rid of it. I have two testifiers, one from central Minnesota, Mr. Chairman, Tim Becker from the Amcon block plant, which is a cement block manufacturer in my district, if you could come forward and testify.
Yes, let's have, is it Mr. Becken or Becker?
Becken.
Becken, okay, Mr. Becken and Brian Carr. Do you want to join us down here? Where's Mr. Carr? With the Minnesota retailers. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, sir.
Good morning. My name is Tim Becken. I am with Amcon Block and Semstone Products.
Welcome to the committee, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for hearing out our testimony. I come from a business. We are a fourth-generation company. We've been in business. This is our 90th year, and we sell ready-mix concrete, concrete block, and sand and gravel. In Minnesota, we are a highly seasonal business. This time of the year, we are typically doing very little because construction is truly much smaller, obviously, in the wintertime than the summertime. Historically, for the last 90 years, we've always lost money in the first part of the year. It is the part of Minnesota that we love and enjoy, but we're able to have time off for our employees during the winter as we gear up for the next season. But it is a real challenge as we have this, as we come back in the spring and we start to ramp our business back up. We've absorbed all these losses over the winter, and we're being asked to pre-fund the state's sales tax by the tune of an extra month. It's a terrible time of the year for us to be able to do this, and frankly, we end up having to essentially pay money or to the state and pay typically interest to banks to be able to fund our payments. In our business, because it's construction materials, we typically get paid on a 45 to 60-day lag, and so therefore we're really pre-funding sales tax to a large degree. So we believe this has been a one-time shift. It always has been. The state does not receive any more money, truly, and we would just like some consideration of the lowering of this tax by several days. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just make two other points on what Mr. Becken said. First of all, his company and many of these companies are on an accrual basis for their accounting, which means it's not like they've collected this sales tax by June 28th. They've simply booked the business. They're not going to get the cash for another 60 days maybe. So you're asking them to come up with cash that they don't have. It's not like they're just paying cash early. You're asking them to come up with cash that they don't have. Also, in a business like Mr. Becken's and some other businesses, this isn't a typical retail business where, you know, on the 29th of June or the 30th of June, you probably necessarily have the same sales as the June 28th or June 27th. If you misestimate what your sales taxes are for that month and you don't pay in enough, you get assessed a penalty. So if Mr. Becken's business gets a big sale on June 29th, the day after he paid his sales tax in advance, he could be penalized because he didn't happen to pay enough in sales tax for that month. And so one more couple or two more issues that negatively affect some of our businesses. And Mr. Chair, I'd like to turn it over now to the Minnesota retailers.
Ms. Dalton, is that correct that if you make an estimate, a good faith guess is where you're at, and if you underestimate, you could get penalized?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, that is correct. However, there is a safe harbor provision for the tax that's, I look it up, but it's like 85% of what you actually owe, or let me go look up the actual safe harbor. But there is a safe harbor that says if you pay some minimum amount, what you owed for that, for June accelerated in the previous year, or some percentage of the actual amount that you're going to owe. There will be no penalty.
But you don't know what your sales are, so you could have a situation where you don't know what your sales are, but you get penalized because you did it wrong. You didn't do it wrong, you just misunderestimated.
Mr. Chair, that is correct. However, as I said, there is always the safe harbor of paying what you owed for June accelerated in the previous year.
What if you're winding your business down and it's much, much less? If you didn't pay, you'd get a penalty.
Mr. Chair, that is a potential, yes.
That's not very Minnesota nice. Mr. Carr, please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Thank you, Chair Davids and members of the committee. My name is Brian Carr. I'm the Government Relations Director and Legal Counsel for the members of the Minnesota Retailers Association.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much. It's my great honor to represent retailers across the state, Main Street, regional retailers, and national brands, including some of the most iconic brands headquartered here in the state of Minnesota. I'm here today to speak in support of Representative Knoblach's House File 138. We've supported this in the past, we support it today, and we're going to support it in the future. Representative Knoblach did a wonderful job of articulating what this bill does. It's antiquated law dating back to an issue from the 1980s. We'd like to see it removed. It is administratively costly, it's burdensome, and it ultimately drives up costs for our consumers. That is my testimony. Thank you, and I stand for the questions.
Have you ever shopped at Everson's Hardware, Hank?
I haven't in Waconia, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. What, do you know what their team name is?
No, I don't, Chair.
Wildcats. Okay, item next. Questions for Mr. Carr or for Mr. Beckham? With that, oh, yes, sir. Mr. Hertas and then Metza, or Representative Hertas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair Knoblach, thank you for bringing this bill forward. And Mr. Beckin really illustrates one of the most exacerbated problems with regard to this law as it applies to seasonal businesses. Mr. Beckin, my block crews and block layers have laid a lot of your block in the years past, but going back to the history of this, when it was first started, interest rates were 20% to small business. And the state of Minnesota didn't have any money, so they were asking the private sector to go out and borrow it for them and finance their cash flow needs. And this has persisted for a long time. And it really does need to go away, especially when we have a situation where the financial house is back in order. We don't need to rely on this anymore. We certainly could invoke it again if it was necessary in the future, but it really does need to go away. And, you know, in the case of Mr. Beckin's case, even in my own experience, suddenly in June, the weather's good, the people come out, and suddenly you make 4 or 5 home sales, and I place orders with the lumberyard, and they've got suddenly $250,000 or more of new lumber sales that I'm not paying them for until closing. That's the way it works, and that's the way it has worked for a long time in the building and construction trades. So this really is onerous, and thank you, Chair Knoblach, for doing this, and I hope that this can be part of our tax bill.
You're okay? Okay. To the department then. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Representative Knoblach, and members. For the record, my name is Paul Cummings, and I'm the Tax Policy Manager at the Minnesota Department of Revenue. I did call your office last night, so I apologize.
I got
we
the
weren't able
message.
to. Okay, great. First of all, we really wanted to thank Representative Knoblach for the amendment. Passing a change in June accelerated in usually late May provides a very limited amount of time for us to communicate with our taxpayers and also change internal systems to ensure that that works seamlessly. So we do appreciate the amendment moving it out to 2018. I also wanted to just note for the committee's information that there's a lesser known June accelerated provision in the mortgage and deed as well. And so that is just something I wanted to ensure we put on the record, that there is there is other June accelerated payments. If this bill moves through the process, the Department of Revenue is more than willing to work with the chair and Representative Knoblach. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any
Happy to be a
questions for
resource.
Mr. Cummings? Okay, and I just want to say for the record, Mr. Cummings, we throw a lot of stuff at you every day, and you're always well prepared, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Don't always agree with you, but you're prepared, and I appreciate that. Okay, so Chair Knoblach moves House File 138 as amended to be later for possible inclusion in an omnibus tax bill. Thank you, Chair Knoblach. We are going to go next to Representative Rosenthal. You've been waiting here patiently, and Chair Knoblach is a member of this committee, so we want to go to you, Representative Rosenthal. I will move House File 2214, the Rosenthal Bill, Bullion Coin Exemption Provided. Is there amendments? Okay, I will then, to get the bill in the shape the author would like, I will move the H0214DE1 amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Okay, so on this bill, I have a Mr. Gary Atkins from Minnesotans for Precious Metal Fairness. Is that a group?
It is.
Oh, cool. Okay. Is there anyone else wish to testify on behalf of the bill with concerns thereof? Does the department wish to make comments on this bill as amended? Where did the department go? I guess not. If he comes back, he will certainly have the opportunity. Okay, Representative Rosenthal, to your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 214, in my opinion, gets rid of the sales tax on bullion and precious metal, which are valid investment tools. You can buy bullion mutual funds, gold mutual funds, and all kinds of other investments. But having the actual metal in hand is something that a lot of people have as part of their portfolio. And currently in Minnesota, if you buy precious metal as defined in this bill, it's a very narrow. It has to be 99.9% pure, and it can be in bars or rounds. Currently, it's taxed at 7% in the state, and as an investor, I work in the financial markets. I would not buy a stock or a bond or make a currency trade if I knew I was going to be immediately 7.5% in the hole. And that's what this bill addresses. So I have a testifier and would be happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative Rosenthal. So you have investment grade bullion. And I
Correct.
could put it in my IRA, and I pay in Minnesota 7.5% sales tax to do that?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
How many states tax this? Or let's get in the testimony. Let's get in the testimony. Mr. Gary Atkins, please state your name and who you represent for the record, please, sir.
Yes, my name is Gary Adkins, and I represent the Minnesota Advocates for Precious Metals Fairness, a group of consumers and dealers who are looking to exempt precious metals investments from sales tax. And as Representative Rosenthal mentioned here, you're in the hole right away. If you're investing in precious metals, physical precious metals, you're in the hole right now as soon as you purchase those precious metals by 7+%. You're on the downside. So right now there are 33 states who have exemptions for precious metals in one form or another. And we'd like to make Minnesota number 34. Our neighbors surrounding us, North and South Dakota, Iowa, all have exemptions for precious metals. So consumers can drive across state lines, spend their money in another state, and take advantage of not paying the sales tax on it. Also, there's estimated that $50 to $150 million of revenue is leaving our state every year when consumers are purchasing from states that have sales tax exemptions to avoid that 7% sales tax. Consumers who purchase precious metals do so as a tangible investment that they can hold in their hands. These products are recognized for their value throughout the world and as a hedge against inflation or monetary disruption. Consider the fact that gold has been the best performing asset for the past 10 years. Ask the Greeks if they would have preferred gold as their asset protection in light of their country's devaluation. As I mentioned, 33 other states have exemptions in precious metals in one form or another. There is a map in your packet that describes which states have that. Also in your packet, there's a chart that shows the loss on your investment as soon as you purchase precious metals in Minnesota. And there's also an outline of what the advantages are to eliminating the sales tax on precious metals in the state. One, you're leveling the playing field with 33 other states. You're offering consumer protection. 2 years ago, the state introduced a coin dealer regulation in fact, we're the only state in the country that has a regulation regulating coin and precious metal dealers. And so you're offering the consumer in Minnesota some protection. If they're ordering out of state, many consumers don't know who they're buying from. And in fact, the Attorney General testified when that bill was introduced that a lot of consumers are buying out of state and being defrauded because the dealers don't make delivery or they sell counterfeit coins or something of that nature. So it protects consumers, and that's a big issue in this situation. Again, it increases revenue to the state in a lot of different forms. And although your revenue packet shows that there's a cost to this, I think it's far outweighed by the number of jobs it would create in our industry. And keeping that money in Minnesota, the economic effect of $50 to $150 million to our state far outweighs that small revenue amount that you see on your bill there. So anyway, and also we have convention business that we're losing. I'm the vice president of the American Numismatic Association, and that's an organization of collectors throughout the United States. They hold their annual convention in cities that do not have sales tax when they're doing that. And so if we could bring a convention like the American Numismatic Association to Minnesota, and they would definitely consider us for that if we did not have sales tax, that convention brings in an estimated $10 million in revenue to the state. And we're supported by the Minnesota Convention Bureau on this as well. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Questions? So let's just say I had a really, really good year, Representative Rosenthal, and I need a SEP, okay? Because I can do 25% of my first $200,000 of income. So I have 50 grand. I'm going to give to my trusted advisor, Representative Rosenthal, $50,000 worth of gold I want to buy from you. So you're going to charge me $3,500, more than $3,500 as a sales tax. Is that sales tax deductible? It's not going to go in my account because it goes to the state.
Right.
Ms. Dalton? I had a good year this year. I actually did have a good year this year, like every year. But, okay, so my first $200,000 per month, so I can do 25% into my SEP, and I go to you, I say, buy me some silver, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get taxed $3,500. Do I get to deduct the $3,500 from my tax also, Ms. Dalton?
Mr. Chair, you are going to get taxed. Whether you can deduct it or not, I don't know.
Ms. Dalton?
Mr. Chair, I'm actually going to defer to Mr. Michael because this is more of an income tax question.
See what happens when you kick them out of the table here?
No.
See what happens? Well, I'll tell you what, we got bills here. I will talk to you offline, and then I'll make my investment with Representative Rosenthal. Okay. Questions, Representative Carlson, Metza Dabney. Representative Carlson.
I think I probably know the answer to the question, but that 7.5%, is that applied to the purchase or the value of the coin when issued? I was looking at the first one on the list here is the Double Eagle, and I think that was way back when, a $20 gold piece. So do you pay 7.5% on its current market value with collectors, or do you pay 7.5% on the $20?
Representative Rosenthal.
You pay
face value.
You don't pay in the face value. You pay for the value of the bullion. So it'd be taxed on whatever gold or silver is trading for that day.
So the content of the
Or
gold
whatever
in the
you
coin?
paid for.
Okay.
that
Right.
day.
Whatever you pay for.
That answers the question. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Representative Metza, are you involved in this metals fairness group?
I'm always about fairness in metals, Mr. Chair.
Well, you're being in, okay. Representative Metza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Rosenthal, I know this has come up numerous times with you, and I get it now as I've learned. I'm on the tax committee. I read through both your and Representative Knoblach's bill last night. I think it makes sense, so I'll leave it at that.
Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the testifier. The bullion industry in Minnesota is probably best known for corruption and fraud, hard selling, high-pressure sales techniques, particularly targeting vulnerable elders. and any number of people in that industry doing now serious federal time as well as possibly state time for their illegal activities. What, if anything, is the industry doing to clean it up? And I guess, well, I'll stop there.
Mr. Atkins.
Chairman Davids, Representative, thank you for that question. That's explicitly why the Attorney General 2 years ago instituted a bill that regulated coin dealers in Minnesota. It's not an issue just for Minnesota, it's all over the country. And that's why we want to protect consumers who are buying, who are sending their money out of state. That's one of the reasons we want to introduce this bill, so that a consumer can have a one-on-one relationship with a dealer who is licensed and bonded in the state of Minnesota. You can't do business in Minnesota without being licensed and bonded. And so that law was created to take care of the issue that you're bringing up right now, which is eliminating consumer fraud in Minnesota. And that bill also regulates dealers out of state as long as the Commerce Department knows how to find them or how to reach out to those people. So it's a more difficult process for them to prosecute fraud in that case. It's better if that consumer is buying in Minnesota. Obviously, if he's defrauded in Minnesota, the Commerce Department can reach out, take action against that offender right away. They don't have to go through another state process or something of that nature.
And they do.
Mr. Chair,
And that's, and
are we going to be hearing Representative Knoblach's similar, I guess, bill today as well?
People have.
I'm just wondering if the department has a preference between the two bills. I know that Representative Rosenthal was amended. I don't know Chair Knoblach's intention. Did the department disappear? They were here a minute ago.
Yeah, they're here. Let's get the department up here. Representative Hurtas, quickly, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's the clock here, so.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Knoblach, or I'm sorry, Rosenthal. As I was reading the bill here, is this only pertaining to investment grade purchase of bullion? I know there are a number of industrial platers in Minnesota who use precious metals to plate industrial products. Would the sales tax still apply if it's for production?
Representative Rosenthal?
Mr. Chair, Representative Hurtas, I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. This applies to only investments such as bars and rounds. I don't know through that.
Mr. Atkins.
Mr. Chair, Representative, thanks for that question. No, this bill only pertains to specific precious metal products, and those are delineated. If you look at the bill, the amendment to the bill anyway, every product that's exempt is identified in that bill. And we did it this way because we want the Revenue Department to be able to enforce this without a lot of extra work trying to figure out what's exempt, what's not exempt. This bill defines very specifically which products are exempt from the sales tax. And we did that again for ease of revenue to be able to enforce it.
Well, before we go on, let's, Representative Hurtas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it appears that it's in the form of coin or something that's been manufactured in a product. And I was particularly targeting in the subdivision 34 where it says precious metal bullion. And I know that these platers buy bars of bullion and then dissolve it into their tanks and then plate products with it. So I was just wondering on that question.
Okay, let's go, and here's what we're going to do. I will move House File 214 as amended, be later for possible inclusion in the omnibus tax bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. Now, Representative Knoblach moves House File 137, and Representative Rosenthal, if you could stay, Mr. Atkins stay, Department stay. And then I believe we have one more witness that's going to be extremely quick. Okay, Representative Knoblach moves the A1 amendment. A discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. We now have House File 137 as amended, the Knoblach bill. So with that being said, you had someone you need to testify. You want to describe your bill briefly?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chair. Yeah, House File 137 as amended is very similar to Representative Rosenthal's bill, and I want to thank him for bringing his bill again this year. I bring it at the request of a constituent, but I do believe this should be enacted. I don't think we should be taxing money, which is what we're effectively doing right now in Minnesota, and having a special tax on investment products here that we don't do on other investment products. The two things that I guess I'd point out in terms of my bill being different from Representative Rosenthal's is, one, it covers more investment products. There are, for example, some United States coins that have a 40% silver content that wouldn't be covered by Representative Rosenthal's bill, as there are other new investment products that come on the market. They wouldn't necessarily be covered by Representative Rosenthal's bill because he's very specific in what he covers. And my bill then basically covers a broader number of investment products than that brought forth by Representative Rosenthal. Secondly, if you look at the effective date language, my bill would cover any products that are brought in from another state. Let's say right now you have a second home in Florida, you live in Florida part of the year, you buy some coins or precious metal in Florida, you don't have to pay the tax on it. If you happen to sell your home, if you happen to bring those coins up to Minnesota, once they pass the border, you would legally owe a tax on them right now. Of course, I think a lot of people probably just bring them in anyway, but this would make it clear that you don't owe that tax. And that's the two differences I have with Representative Rosenthal's bill, and I'd appreciate your support.
Representative Knoblach, is this bill causing people to leave the state?
Chair Davids, it's causing people's money to leave the state.
Okay, just so they stay. That's all. Okay, you have a witness that's going to be extremely quick.
I do, yes. If Mr. Himmelwright from the
Cummings,
Premium
please
Quality
stick around.
Coin Company could come up.
Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
My name is Bill Himmelwright, and I own Premium Quality Coin in downtown Minneapolis, and have run that store for 30 years.
Welcome, committee, sir.
Thank you.
You can say
Chair-
something. Yeah.
Yes, Chairman Davids and fellow committee members, I'm here as a true retailer who has serviced the retail clientele in downtown Minneapolis for 30 years, and I think I can offer an interesting perspective on the bills that are being introduced here, which I am glad to see that are being considered in the committee at this time. This is not a bill that basically affects a lot of the very rich people that are making financial investments in gold and silver, because those types of people have IRAs that they can buy stuff in. They can own commodities. They have accounts with different brokerage firms, and there's many different ways that they can own the exact same product and not pay a sales tax on it. The fairness of the law, I think, is really affecting the people who come into my store, who are looking to understand money and its concepts and how to use it and how to save it. And these people are trying their best to make a store of value that they feel they can use at some point in the future. And what happens is when you treat the exact same products differently, from what I found on the state's website in making a law, one of the very first criteria was that the law had to be fair. And if you take the exact same products and you treat them differently, it seems to me as though that makes for an unfair law. And unfair laws aren't abided by, which is what we have here. And this is why the amount of difference between what the gross revenues of a coin dealer in a state that has taxes and a coin dealer in a state that does not have taxes is nearly tenfold. Because the people who feel that the law is unfair, and I think they justly feel that way, end up going somewhere and not abiding by the law. So what I recommend is that you support House File 137, because I believe it's an unfair law. It treats the exact same products differently depending on how you buy them. The exact same product. It's a commodity. There's no difference between the products and how they're taxed.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Himmelwright? Seeing none, then we'll go to Mr. Cummings. If you could please, thank you, sir. Mr. Cummings, to the kind of the Dabney question is kind of a question I had too, but it's Representative Dabney's question. I'm not going to take it from him. The question was, of the two bills, do you prefer one over the other, or should we work out some type of compromise on it, or what do you think? Or do you just, are you here as a resource?
Mr. Chair, Representatives Rosenthal and Knoblach, members, for the record, my name is Paul Cummings, and I'm the Tax Policy Manager at the Minnesota Department of Revenue. I was able to connect with Representative Rosenthal before the hearing, and apparently you got my message, Representative Knoblach.
Just before the hearing.
Okay. So these bills create an exemption for bullion coins and seeks to equate the sale of this type of tangible personal property with the sale of investment instruments such as stocks and bonds. One of the topics that we have in tax committee is how to ensure taxpayers are treated fairly under the law. In this case, the authors are making the case that this should be treated like investment instruments, like stocks and bonds. Some suggest that these types of products should be treated like other tangible personal property. Bullion has the characteristics of tangible personal property in it that it can be perceived and touched. Investment instruments such as stocks and bonds are clearly not tangible personal property. The authors are trying to make the point that these should be treated like investment instruments more than tangible personal property. The bill would treat purchasers of bullions differently than the purchase of other types of tangible personal property, which may be purchased for investment purposes, since they will not benefit from similar exemptions.
Mr. Cummings, what other tangible personal property can you buy that can go in an investment like an IRA?
Well, for instance, Mr. Chair, commemorative or historic coins, paintings, famous memorabilia such as rare guitars are all tangible personal property that exceed the value of the underlying material or similar products in the marketplace.
But they cannot be put in an IRA.
Mr. Chair, I'm not, I think more work needs to be done to ensure, if that is the intent, that the bills and the exemptions that you're creating are equal to what could be put into an IRA. I'm not quite sure that either bill would meet that same definition, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And I think with that, I don't like going over. Any questions right now for Mr. Cummings? This is a work in progress. I'm going to renew Representative Knoblach's motion to House File 137 as amended.
Mr. Chair?
For possible. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you still want an answer to Representative Dabney's and your question.
Oh, yeah, I do. Do you like Rosenthal better or Knoblach better?
Mr. Chair, in deferring the question about the Ways and Means Chair, Mr. Chair, one of the things I think, so Representative Knoblach brings up a few good points about how the bills and how it is taxed, especially related to the movement of types of products. Representative Rosenthal's bill has come quite a long way since it was the first bill that was put forward as the Don't Stop Believing bill, a bill that I have not stopped believing in, Mr. Chair.
I have.
Well, maybe the Keep Hope Alive bill will.
It's not the name, but close.
But, Mr. Chair, the Rosenthal bill has moved to include specific types of coins. That was an improvement from the bill 2 years ago. It has moved the purity up from, a definition pegged to 80G, which was over 1%. Now it's above 99%. They specifically note the coins that are in there. It is a bill that we want to continue to look at. So we're finding things in both approaches that seem to have some resonance, Mr. Chair. We appreciate both of Representative Knoblach's bill, certainly as well as the amendment put forward by Representative Rosenthal. And we ask you, Mr. Chair, that we can continue to work with you, Representative Knoblach and Representative Rosenthal, and continue to think about this approach and about fairness for taxpayers.
Would it be fair to say that you wish to continue to be a resource on both bills?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We should name it the Staying Alive tax bill. Representative Metza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I think we could call it the Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow bill, because I'm sure Paul will be doing that as we proceed with many other bill hearings.
Thank you. Members, so I will move House File 137 as amended be delivered for possible conclusion that omnibus tax bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. With that, members, thank you so much for your work this week. Have a super weekend. Good government all the time. We are adjourned.